Welcome to another installment of Night's Intent. You'll never be the same again after hearing this story. It is a must-hear. Every one of us has the potential to exceed given the desire and determination to persevere, especially when it is out of love for someone very dear to our hearts. This is a true story, we call it Robby's Night. At the prodding of my friends, I am telling this story. My name is Mildred Hondorf. I am a former elementary school music teacher from Des Moines, Iowa. I've always supplemented my income by teaching piano lessons, something I've done for over 30 years. Over the years I found that children have many levels of musical ability. I've never had the pleasure of having a prodigy, though I have taught some talented students. However, I've also had my share of what I call musically challenged pupils. One such student was Robby. Robby was 11 years old when his mother, a single mom, dropped him off for his first piano lesson. I prefer that students, especially boys, begin at an earlier age, which I explained to Robby. But Robby said that it had always been his mother's dream to hear him play the piano. So I took him as a student. Well, Robby began with his piano lessons, and from the beginning I thought it was a hopeless endeavor. As much as Robby tried, he lacked the sense of tone and basic rhythm needed to excel, but he dutifully reviewed his scales and some elementary pieces that I require all my students to learn. Over the months, he tried and tried, while I listened and cringed, and tried to encourage him. At the end of each weekly lesson he'd always say, "My mom's going to hear me play someday." But it seemed hopeless. He just did not have any inborn ability. I only knew his mother from a distance, as she dropped Robby off, or waited in her aged car to pick him up. She always waved and smiled, but never stopped in. Then one day, Robby stopped coming to our lessons. I thought about calling him, but assumed, because of his lack of ability, that he had decided to pursue something else. I also was glad that he stopped coming. He was a bad advertisement for my teaching. Several weeks later I mailed to the students' homes a flyer on the upcoming recital. To my surprise, Robby, who received a flyer, asked me if he could be in the recital. I told him that the recital was for current pupils and, because he had dropped out, he really did not qualify. He said that his mother had been sick and unable to take him to piano lessons, but he was still practicing. "Miss Hondorf, I've just got to play," he insisted. I don't know what led me to allow him to play in the recital. Maybe it was his persistence, or maybe it was something inside of me saying that it would be all right. The night for the recital came. The high school gymnasium was packed with parents, friends, and relatives. I put Robby up last in the program, before I was to come up and thank all the students and play a finishing piece. I thought that any damage he would do would come at the end of the program and I could always salvage his poor performance through my curtain closer. Well, the recital went off without a hitch. The students had been practicing and it showed. Then Robby came up on stage. His clothes were wrinkled and his hair looked like he'd run an egg beater through it. Why didn't he dress up like the other students? I thought. Why didn't his mother at least make him comb his hair for this special night? Robby pulled out the piano bench and he began. I was surprised when he announced that he had chosen Mozart's Concerto #21 in C major. I was not prepared for what I heard next. His fingers were light on the keys, they even danced nimbly on the ivories. He went from pianissimo to fortissimo, from allegro to a virtuoso. His suspended chords, that Mozart demands, were magnificent. Never had I heard Mozart played so well by people his age. After 6.5 minutes, he ended in a grand crescendo and everyone was on their feet in wild applause. Overcome, and in tears, I ran up on stage and put my arms around Robby in joy. I've never heard you play like that, Robby. How do you do it? Through the microphone, Robby explained. Well, Miss Hondorf, remember I told you my mom was sick? Well, actually, she had cancer and passed away this morning, and well, she was born deaf, so tonight was the first time she ever heard me play. I wanted to make it special. There wasn't a dry eye in the house that evening. As the people from social services led Robby from the stage to be placed into foster care, I noticed that even their eyes were red and puffy, and I thought to myself how much richer my life had been for taking Robby as my pupil. No, I've never had a prodigy, but that night, I became a prodigy of Robby's. He was the teacher, and I was the pupil, for it is he that taught me the meaning of perseverance and love, and believing in yourself, and maybe even taking a chance in someone, and you don't know why. Robby was killed in the senseless bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City in April of 1995. This message and story was originally an email forward. It was revised and reproduced by Night's Intent for video. Subscribe to Night's Intent videos on YouTube now. And now, a footnote to the story. If you are thinking about forwarding this video, you are probably thinking about which people on your address list aren't the appropriate ones to receive this type of message. The person who sent this as an email, and now its production as a video, to you, believes that we can all make a difference. So many seemingly trivial interactions between two people present us with a choice. Do we act with compassion, or do we pass up that opportunity and leave the world a bit colder in the process? You have two choices now. 1. Delete this. 2. Forward it, or a post, to the people you care about. You know the choice I made. Thank you for watching this. May God bless you today, tomorrow, and always. In all ways. If God didn't have a purpose for us, we wouldn't have sent ourselves to remind each other. I wish you love.